In this video, we're going to give you a step-by-step guide on how to use the main AI agent platform, Manus AI. Plus, there's also some extra content here which covers the main applications of Manus AI. There are 7 here. AI agent concepts, amazing use cases, agent benefits, costs, and credits, additional resources and premium material, integrations, and tips and strategies. Rodrigo, how do I download this content? During the video, I'll give you more details on how to download it. And before we start, leave a comment below. Do you know what AI agents are? If you do, have you ever used AI agents? Did you know about Manus AI? I'll tell you quickly. Imagine what it would be like to have an employee working for you 24 hours a day, doing tasks for you. They create websites, build apps, make spreadsheets, all by following simple commands. That's basically what Manus AI does. It works for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Amazing, isn't it? I've brought in a specialist here to help me. And as you know, at the end of the video, I'll leave the link to his channel. It's really worth subscribing. And of course, I'll be adding my own comments about monetization. How can you use what you learned today to make money? All right? Let's get straight to it then. 3, 2, 1, go.
And as you already know, when it comes to the test I usually do, I like to run a test that everyone can understand what's going on. And I have a prompt here that I'm not sure is the best, but we're going to improve it right now, especially because we're going to ask for a slightly more complex task. As you know, Manus can generate code, it can test programs, it can create websites, it can generate reports, all of this autonomously. Can it make mistakes? Yes, it can make mistakes. But apparently, it will try to correct itself. And if everything goes well, we can get something working with less than 1,000 credits. On the other hand, if this thing doesn't work with these 1,000 credits here, then I don't know, right? Then we're in trouble. But this is my prompt. Look,
Yeah, basically, just to explain, you have a certain number of credits and each activity. So, I want to generate a spreadsheet. I want to create a website. I want to make an app. I want to make a game. I want you to buy a plane ticket for me and book a restaurant. Yes, you can do that. Each activity uses up a certain number of credits. Let's go.
We're going to ask a question about Brazil, right? Look, Brazil has 26 states, the federal district, and 5 major regions. Alright, do a research on Brazilian culture taking into account the regional aspects from all over Brazil. Okay, it's pretty simple here. Talk about food, dances, rhythms, accents, economy, and historical aspects. Alright, great. This part is good. Divide the answer by regions and comment on the states. This is the part I'm going to change. I'm going to say the following. Divide the answers by regions. Alright, this part stays. Create a website to display the 5 regions, and within each region include explanations with data from all the states in their respective regions. Make menus that can be expanded and collapsed so the site doesn't get visually cluttered. And here I want to add a programming part. Look, generate graphs of the population of the 5 regions for at least the last 10 years. This part here is going to be a bit of a tough piece of information to get. Let's put it here. Instead of the last, say at least the last 10 years.
Let's go ahead and add a comment here. My company, for many years now, has been diligently creating comprehensive websites, effective sales pages for both physical and digital products, and specialized landing pages where you typically promise something valuable and the interested person then provides their full name, their email address, and their phone number, right? And also corporate websites, which are company websites, so gyms, law firms, medical clinics, dental clinics, and so on. Anyway, I charge a fee for developing these websites, and then I assign a professional, someone good at programming, good at design, and so on. Now, Manus, what can I do? I can sell this service, keep selling it, but now I pay for a Manus subscription and ask it to build a website. I don't have to ask one of my employees anymore, right? Now I can just ask Manus, am I going to take my employee's job away? Not right away, but what we usually do nowadays is like we consistently keep the team, but we effectively reduce its size, right? So sometimes you previously used to need 2, sometimes you needed 4 employees, and now you only need 1, you need 2, you need half the team. This allows for greater efficiency. Anyway, that's a topic for another video, but you can leave a comment down below. I'm just being realistic, right? My point is, for you to make more money, reducing your team is also a way to increase your profits. Besides that, you who didn't used to offer this service can now do so because you need to be good at attracting clients. not necessarily good at programming or website creation. Now you can sell this service even if you've never built a website before. Isn't that amazing? Of course, experience matters. Your skill, your sensitivity to good design, to something tasteful, definitely matters, but you can be creative without needing to be good at programming. Now you have Manus AI to do it for you. Good or too good? Leave a comment below.
So here we expect a line chart to appear with the 5 regions, or for you to be able to select the regions, but it needs to have the 5 regions with their populations. This is a piece of data that's a bit hard to obtain, and at the end create a PDF report with the collected information. As you might expect, this is an agent that by default is already set up to take my prompt more or less and turn it into a task tree of things it will do. And it will definitely break down everything I'm saying into many more tasks, add all the details of what it's going to do, and then start executing. I don't know if it will first be able to do it within 1,000 credits. And I don't know if there could be an error where suddenly it spends 700, an error happens, and to fix it, it will spend another 700, and then it won't have enough. So, yeah, reality is what's going to happen from now on. Fingers crossed. I have no idea how long this will take, but that's it. It's already, Manus is typing, done. And he's already started here. Look, researching Brazilian culture for 43 seconds. I don't know if 43 seconds have really passed, huh? But if he says it has, then...
What I think is really cool is that if you were in a company, you'd be there watching what your employees are doing. And it's really nice to see in real time what they're working on. They're researching, now they're coding, now they're making tables, now they're working on the design. So that's really cool.
And then you start here. Look, Manus, hello. I've received your request to create a complete project about Brazilian culture, taking into account the regional aspects of the 5 major regions of Brazil. I'll work on researching food, dances, rhythms, accents, economy, and historical aspects of each region, create an interactive website with expandable menus to display this information, generate population charts from the last 10 years, and finally compile everything into a PDF report. I'll start working on it right away, and we'll keep you updated on the progress. And then he started here doing things, right? He began by creating the project structure, starting here, look, sending commands, for example, mkdir. He's creating directories. Understand this, he's not just doing text research, he's creating a directory. He's going to put files in the directory, right? Look, he made a to-do file here with a list of things he wants to do. When we look at this to-do file, check out how interesting it is. The little tasks he listed here, look. Create the directory structure for the project. Research demographic data from Brazil from the last 10 years.
How impressive. He's an extremely organized and methodical employee. How amazing.
Research the culture of the North region. Then he does the same thing for the Northeast, the Center-West, the Southeast, and the South regions. Done. This here will be the configuration and research part. After that, he'll do, look, visualization and development, generate population charts for the 5 regions from the last 10 years, develop the interactive website. Then he adds HTML structure, which is the part for whoever is building the website, CSS styling, JavaScript functionality, integrating content from the regions, integrating charts, testing functionalities, and here in the finalization, compiling a PDF report with all the information and delivering the results to the user. And he keeps going, doing a bunch of things, right? He made this to-do list by looking up information on the IBGE, guys. Isn't that wild? Population on IBGE is really doing what a human would do and just going for it. Look, accessing the IBGE, doing research there. Census 2010, 2022.
And what's interesting is if it were an employee, they'd waste time with organization, right? So they'd have to stop what they're doing to record what they're doing. Here, since it's a machine, right, while it's doing the task, it's also recording each step, providing information to its boss, right? So that's really, really cool.
Wow, guys. And then people say this won't replace humans. It's already replacing us. Look, now it starts accessing the sites here. Look, browsing around. Look at it browsing over there. It takes a screenshot of the screen as it enters the site. Do you guys get it? It went into the site, started browsing around. Look, clicking on the element. Wow, here it's going to get confused. But look how funny it is on those screens over there. You can actually see estimates for 92, 93, 94, 95. So apparently it went to the right place. Population estimates. I don't know if it'll be able to download from there because there are a bunch of CAPTCHAs. I think there must be some CAPTCHA here, right? I'm not sure if there will be.
CAPTCHA is basically when you click on that, you know, that little box like, are you human? And sometimes you have to, click on the images, where it shows traffic light, where it shows dot. That would already make things complicated. Normally, what do the agents do? They either ask for authorization or they ask you to do it, right? To click there to prove you're human. So you end up having to check in from time to time.
It looks like it's doing things there step by step. Let's hit jump to live because here, look, these are the steps it's taking. Let's jump to live. What's happening right now in real time? What are the guys doing? Look, it's on the IBG website. Let me get out of here. Let me get out of the way. It's on the IBG website. Look, clicking on the links, accessing. Look, it's searching for the things that need to be done. I can already tell this thing isn't going to be quick. It's going to take a while. He barely finished the first task, which I think is the hardest one, which is getting this data.
We're getting anxious, right? Because this would take, I don't know, a few days, right? I'm almost 41 years old, and this is impressive, you know? So like what used to take weeks sometimes now takes an hour, 2 hours, but people are already saying, wow, but it's going to take 20 minutes. It's going to take 30 minutes. My God, right? Go do something else. Now, obviously, right? For a YouTube video, you'll have to pause and wait there. You know, anyway, Toto presented live, but wow, even if it takes half an hour, my God, right? It's impressive.
This kind of data, especially on the IBG website, for anyone who's tried to do this kind of research, it's super confusing. The IBG website is not an easy site to deal with. Downloading those documents there is not going to be an easy task. In general, the data isn't very standardized, and I specifically mentioned the last 10 years because if I hadn't, my God, who knows what it would have done. Look at this thing it says here. Manus encountered some problems while performing this action. Don't worry, it will handle the errors on its own. You guys get that this is the level we're dealing with, right? Something went wrong there. Something messed up. But it says, leave it to me, I'll sort this out.
In real life, it would be like this. The employee runs into an obstacle, but instead of going to talk to the boss, they just solve it themselves. They already have the solution. At this point, you could already sell the website. You could also sell the research. And Manus does other things as well. Suddenly, the client wants you to create, you know, maybe some charts, some interactive buttons, all of that you can charge an additional fee for depending on the complexity. So this here is impressive. A research like this, I swear to God, sometimes goes for around $1,000, $2,000. It's really impressive. It's much cheaper than subscribing to the tool.
And that's the way it is. What's interesting here, look, is understanding what's showing up on this screen. There's a little button here, see? That lets me use Manus's computer. So probably depending on what happens on the problem that comes up, I can step in. I can use both VS Code and the browser here, see? If he's having some trouble with something he needs to fill out, maybe I can do it. But let's leave him there struggling, right? Apparently, I think this IBG website is going to be a hassle. I don't know if you'll be able to get the data from that site, no. Especially because the file formats here look ODS, Excel file formats, but apparently he's getting things done there, right? I don't know. I'm going to pause here. I'll let him keep working. I don't know if it's going to work out, if it's going to work or what might not work. Apparently, he's over there getting things done.
What's strange is that it shouldn't be able to download anything without your permission because it could be something with a virus, right? It should have to ask for your authorization. So unless there's a prior setting that you already enabled, which I obviously don't recommend, right?
Look, it already saved the file here, population by region. Look, it's done. We got it here. Look, the demographic data survey for Brazil from the last 10 years. It managed to finish successfully there. It's going really well. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to have some coffee, grab a bite to eat, because I can already tell this isn't going to be quick. And then, in a bit, later on, I'll come back to finish up to see what happened.
That's what's impressive. You can do other things, whether it's health-related, going to the gym, eating, whatever, or you can do other work activities while it does this. It's like having an employee, way cheaper than actually hiring someone. Even if you say, oh, the plan is expensive, man, but it's still way cheaper than having an employee.
All right, folks, apparently everything here is fine. We're on the last little task here. See the task progress right here? It's already done everything it needed to do. It built the structure, did the demographic research for Brazil, researched the North, Northeast, Central, West, Southeast, and South regions, generated the population charts, created the interactive website, is now finishing up the PDFs, and once the PDFs are done, all that's left is to deliver it to the user, which is us here watching. Honestly, I think this is amazing. Of course, we still need to see what will actually happen, right? To see if it will really work. But the simple fact that it got involved and started doing all the searches, it went into a bunch of really crazy websites. Sites with pop-ups, sites without pop-ups. It generated a bunch of code. There were some issues with libraries that weren't installed. It caught on, it learned, it did the installations, it solved the problems on its own. And here we are, unbelievably, at the last task.
One thing I'm already applying, which I learned from someone, an American, is that basically you can use Manus to create your own course. I already have courses. I already have mentorships. You know, I always talk about my mentorship, Monetização Mestre, da Inteligência Artificial, where I basically use artificial intelligence to create my sources of income. Today, I have 10 out of my 12 YouTube channels, 10 are monetized, and that's just one way to make money. As I said, I have courses. With these courses, normally you write the script, then after the script, you record, you edit, you publish, then you promote it, and so on. But all that research for the content, sorting it out, then you do more research and there's a lot you won't use. So you filter out the best things and then you have to break it down into lessons, right? And from these lessons, you have to break them down into titles, subtitles, and make bullet points of the main topics. Manus does all of that. If I want to say today, I want to create a course on how to, let's say, how to sell online, just to keep it simple, how to sell online. Then I say, I want you to divide this into 4 modules, each with 6 lessons. It will do in-depth research, organize everything, and divide it all properly. And remember, now Manus can also create presentations. So you can ask it to do the research, and then you can ask it to put together the presentation. I would stop here for you to record, but you know what else you can do? You can use HEYGEN. I'm an official representative of HEYGEN, okay? What does HEYGEN do? It creates avatars or makes your own clone. So what can you do? You can create your clone so you can learn to present the classes yourself. So it's you, but it's your clone. So after you create your clone, you don't need to record anymore. There are several YouTube videos of mine where people don't even realize it's not actually me. Now it's me, but it might not be me. Is it really me? Anyway, use HEYGEN, or you can create avatars, or even use HEYGEN's own avatars so that so it can present the classes for you. On my channel, right, whether in Portuguese, English, Spanish, or German, sometimes it's avatars. These avatars are ultra realistic people who don't exist, and I use them, right? I'll leave the HEYGEN link for you to use. So basically, you can use Manus plus HEYGEN to create courses. And then, man, you can create whatever you want, even content you already know and content you don't know that well. Anything at all. It's amazing. This is already one of the guidelines I give in my monetization mentorship. And just a reminder, I've launched the channel club. How does it work, Rodrigo? At level 1, you get early access to videos. I also reply to video comments with priority, but if you want to ask me anything you want, that starts from level 2. And at level 2, there are also behind the scenes videos, what I'm doing, what I'm up to, what new ideas I'm having. You can ask me which AIs I'm using, which projects I'm working on, any questions you might have. Maybe you're looking to start a project or you're unsure if your thumbnail looks good, ideas for videos and so on. Starting from level 2, you can ask me anything. All right, I'll keep going here. So let's continue.
Just finishing compiling the PDF here. Look how interesting. Check this out. Fixing an error in the PDF report generation script related to already defined styles. Do you see what I mean? It's not that errors don't happen. Errors do happen, right? Look here. Key error. The title style has already been defined in the cheat style. But I don't just sit there trying to fix it. When this error pops up, it starts trying to fix it on its own, and this happened several times throughout this process. There were several moments when it was generating code or doing some research, an error would occur, and it would simply say, "No, hold on, hang tight, I'm going to fix it, and I'll be right back." And then, after a while, it fixes it, modifies the code, makes the changes it needs to, and comes back with everything working. Look! Let's see if it worked this time. Look. It's really crazy. Just look at how much it did, guys. Look at all the information it gathered, all the websites it accessed. So many things that happened until it got here where it's now stuck. Here's something interesting you can notice now. Look. Even though it says like it found an error, something is going to fix. It's not like it's happening in real time where it immediately starts fixing it and you can already see the computer working. Unless you know it's going to fix the error, then it kind of disappears for a while. It's a really slow, drawn-out process, but eventually it works. Look here. PDF report.
Basically, it's using reasoning, right? It's thinking about how it's going to solve it before presenting the result, right? So that's really good, isn't it?
PDF generated successfully. Apparently, it's going to update the tasks there and say it's on the last one. Let's see if this thing worked. Look, there's some error there. Something's up. Problem in the text editor. File operation error. Trying to resolve. It's really funny to see this. Look, apparently now it worked. And here, it just told me that it completed the tasks. 11 out of 11. Look at this. Delivered the result to the user. And here it even tells me, look, if I rate it, I get 100 credits.
Just a reminder, folks, stay until the end because afterwards you'll get that mind map. I'll show you how to download it, okay?
I'm going to give it 5 stars here, saying it did a great job, even though I haven't even read it yet, right? But I'm already going to give it an excellent rating here. And here it's telling me, look, to share the task, humans have completed the work. Now you can choose to share your task. Let's share it, public access. And it's from public access that we're going to access it here to see if it worked. And here I am with the replay working perfectly. It's showing everything that happened, all the steps that took place here, the research, everything it did. It's going to put a jump to result there. In the PDF here, look how nice. Brazilian culture. A study about the 5 regions.
Looks great. It's basic, right? But anyway, it's exciting.
Oh, Brazil. The PDF there is a little bit misformatted, right? The 2025 part was weird. Typical foods, dances, rhythms, accents. Here's the table of contents, all regions, population charts.
Look how interesting. He asked it to create a website, but it also made a PDF, right? But let's check out the website later, right?
So there's going to be an introduction, right? Brazil is a country of continental dimensions, divided into 26 states, the federal district, and 5 major regions, and blah, 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 blah. And here there's going to be a bunch of information, northern region, and then information, even more information. Let me take a quick look to see what happened.
Remember, as I mentioned, folks, this incredible tool can create presentations for you, which is pretty interesting and quite useful. Alternatively, what it can also do is utilize another AI to generate those presentations. There are some AIs that create presentations as well, but since we're talking about Humanos, it creates the research, then it can create the presentations, then it can create the website, and nowadays it can also create videos. It has its own video AI, right, which is its own technology, and it also connects with Google VO3. So if you want, you can create videos. Of course, Google VO3, I've shown it several times here on the channel, is a bit more expensive, right? You'll use up a lot of credits, you know? You have to wait for it to get a bit cheaper.
Northeast region, nice and accurate. The formatting is kind of ugly, right? Look, popular festivals. See here, instead of formatting just popular festivals, the whole text ended up in bold. This is a small issue, but it's still a little problem, right? Now let's see what else. Look, Central West region, nice and accurate there. See? What else? Southeast region, nice and accurate too. Look, information. Let's go down here, look. South region, more information. I think I could have asked it to include some images that was missing here. And this chart here is kind of weird, right? Population growth, just some straight lines. This chart here apparently isn't correct. Look, at least here, the chart turned out better. Let's put it up on the screen here, look. This chart here, look, didn't turn out very well. From what it looks like here, it seems like it's a straight line, but the numbers there seem to be correct. The chart is what's wrong, look. 86.9, 88.7. No, it's correct. 90.5, the chart is correct. Yes, guys. I'm talking nonsense here. Look, it's all correct. There's just a very small variation here. It took data from 2014 to 2023. Really interesting. And look here too, look. Comparison of the population of the regions of Brazil. I'm going to zoom out a bit here, otherwise we can't see. North, Northeast, Southeast, South, and Center West.
It has to create a website, right? Let's see if it did, right?
And then he made the little bars comparing 2014 with 2023. Really interesting. I'm not sure if these values are correct here. We'll have to check it later. Then it made a pie chart of the distribution of the Brazilian population. Look how crazy that is. There's a bit of formatting over the text here. Looks a little weird. But basically the Southeast, the Northeast, and the South are the most populous regions. North and Center West are a bit less populous, with almost half of Brazil's population in the Southeast region. Wow. That's a lot of people, isn't it? Let's see if there's any more charts here. Look. Here, look, there's another chart. Evolution of population composition by region. Let's see if there are more charts. I want to go all the way to the end, just so we can understand. Population growth by region. The Center West apparently was the one that grew the most, right? In proportion. And he included the data for Brazil here. Brazil grew 8.4% from 2014 to 2023.
And what you need to do, folks, is check the data, right? Obviously, never trust AI data blindly. Let's get the data and then you check it, right?
That's really crazy. And then there's a conclusion. Brazil is a country of great cultural diversity with distinct characteristics in each of its 5 regions. And so on. This paragraph is kind of bad, isn't it? It ended up without any formatting. The whole text is just in one line. That makes it hard to read. But apparently the PDF is all correct. And what I also wanted to check was the website. Look at this.
Now let's see. These websites are very basic, okay, folks? They haven't reached the level of being a website like the ones we make here at the company or that other companies make with a more sophisticated design. But to create a website, even a quick one, you know, if you want to present a project like a product, I'm launching an app. I don't know when you'll be watching this video, but anyway, in the next few weeks, later I'll give more detailed sets in the content creation area. But basically, right, it's just getting started. So you want to create a website to present to your first clients or maybe to an investor, something like that. So you need to make it really fast. And the most important thing is that it works, not that it looks pretty at first. So for that, it works really well.
Just the website, folks. Then, northern region. Typical foods like tacacá, duck in tucupi, açaí, maniçoba, pirarucu, dances and rhythms like carimbo, boi bumba, marujada, ciranda, siria, accents, and so on. He made, look, menus that expand. I can close and open them. See, northeast, close and open. I did this on purpose like this so that you all can access it too and check if this thing makes sense. Very interesting. Look at that culture, accents. It turned out really neat. Actually pretty cute. Population charts, look. He took those charts he showed in the PDF and put them here as well. I think what was missing was asking him to add some images here too, right? There could have been some images to help describe things better. But anyway, It turned out pretty streamlined. One of the things that caught my
It's better than a lot of government websites.
attention too is that it's not including more recent things, right? I even mentioned that in one of the reports I wrote. For example, here, dances and rhythms of the South is samba, jongo, congado, folia de reis, funk carioca. Oh, although here he did include funk carioca. But in general, it's good to add, yes, some more recent information to show that he's looking for up-to-date things. Man, I found it really interesting. I think in terms of report quality, a deep research would include more information here. From the other videos where I tested deep research, I think they were more complete, they had more information. But at the same time, since it was my first test, right? I had never used it before, I tried out a prompt like that, and now I can understand what happened and what would need to be done to make it a bit better. But I did like it, guys, because look, think about it. There's a whole website here, everything ready. There's a report in PDF. Everything that happened here is really well documented. I can see all the files here. Look, it shows me all the files it has here that it created, which are go into documents. Images, in this case, there weren't any. The code files are here. Look, if you refresh, and here, as you can see, if you want, for example, to understand what was happening, and the $1 million question, after all, how much did these guys spend to do this research here, huh? I had left. And the $1 million question, after all, how much did these guys spend to do this research here, huh? I had 100 credits left, which were probably from those credits I got when I answered that question. Apparently, it used up all my credits. It used all of them, all 1,000. Do you remember when it finished? It showed 100 credits left.
So pretty expensive, 1,000. And if you're only entitled to exactly 1,000 on the cheapest plan and you spend 1,000 just to do an operation like this, it really is expensive. And for sure, this is going to go down. Now, if you compare the price you pay to what it would cost to hire someone to do this, it's still very much worth it. And remember, you can use it for a lot of things I mentioned here. And remember, I made another video with the 7 ways to use Manus AI to make money. A complete video, all right? I'll leave it here in the cards. And also, if you want to download that mind map, I'll leave the link in the video description and pinned in the first comment. You click, and there you'll find redeem the material. You click, you'll go to a website, and on the site, you'll find all the instructions, okay? Remember to leave your comment. I'll also leave the other Manus AI video that performed really well on the channel and has lots of information. I'm sure you're going to like it a lot, all right? I'll see you in this video here. See you soon.